Good evening, everyone. So unless you have been living under a rock or another planet, you all aware of the excitement over the past week as a result of the presidential election. Whether it be in the news or maybe even here on our own campus, there's been a lot of drama, a lot of tension, probably in a certain sense, maybe even more in the months and weeks preceding the election. Read about it, the protests, the victim playing, the articles and different opinion pieces, all of the meltdowns in social media. And so we may ask ourselves, well, what are we to do about all of this drama? How do we think about it, and how do we handle it? And I think we can look to our gospel today to give us some insight. I first want to sort of make a little caveat in saying this. In trying to understand these things, I realize that the two sort of points I'm going to initially make don't describe most people here. And I'm going to be describing the extremes on either side. But yet, I think we have to understand it so we might be better able to help those who are really, really having a rough time with the outcome of the election. The first is this: the people who tend to be surprised or upset that Trump won as president. If you would read their tweets or the articles that they are writing or watch videos, you would literally think the four horsemen of the apocalypse are parting through the sky to come and lay waste to all the world. Probably surprised that after the election was called, there weren't earthquakes and fire falling from the sky and destruction, because obviously in the minds of a lot of people, this is the end of the world. It's the worst thing that could possibly happen. It sounds like what we're reading about today. All is lost. Nothing but bad things can come from this. There can be absolutely no good. And we've seen a lot of histrionics, a lot of drama, a lot of people completely blowing their position out of proportion. This is one extreme that we see that seems to be alluded to, or we could apply today our gospel. People who obviously need some therapy for their emotional dysregulation. The second, and the other extreme, the people that, since Trump has won, obviously think, as we hear about in the gospel, that the Messiah has returned. The anointed one, the one who's going to cure all of our problems, who's going to make America great again, who's going to bring peace to the world, who's going to make sure the economy is completely fixed, the problems of immigration will be resolved, everything will be great. And just as the first problem is a result of sort of this very histrionic, unbalanced behavior, the fault here is what we could call political messianism. That some political leader is going to usher in a new era or utopia. The politician is a Messiah. And of course, we know this is not correct. And so I realize again that probably very few people in here fall into either camp. Most of us, hopefully wisely, fall into the middle. Because neither of these responses that we've been bombarded with in the media and on Facebook and social media, and again, even here on campus, is the proper response. There are a lot of people in the world that need to take the chill pill. They need to calm down, because it is neither the end of the world nor the second coming of Jesus. Neither one are correct. So what should we do if we are trying to counsel people who maybe are very, very distraught about the election? How do we help others to calm down? And the truths that I'm going to give are true regardless of how anybody feels about the outcome of the election. Now, clearly, sort of a roadmap of where we need to go and maybe some advice we can give to some of our friends and family members. And I think the advice can be taken from our second reading, the second letter of St. Paul to the Thessalonians. And he gives, if we can sort of derive from it, some concrete ideas that we can apply to our lives and encourage others to apply to their lives. The first, Paul talks a lot about the need to work diligently, to be steadfast in the work that you have before you, whether it be schoolwork or work at the office or work at home. We all have our daily duties. We have things that need to be taken care of, that just because Trump is president doesn't mean that all of a sudden we can stop doing these things. We've got to be worried about the task right in front of us. Because the truth is, most of the news, particularly over the course of the coming weeks that we hear out of Washington, D.C., not going to stop or affect your ability to go to school, stop or affect your ability to go to work, stop or affect your ability to live and work in your home. In fact, very few things that are going to come from D.C. are going to impact us very directly. We need to keep working diligently. Number two, Paul is clear. Do not be a busybody. Mind your own business. Now, granted, I think it's very important for us to keep up with current events, to know what is going on. But we don't really need to know every single little detail and read every little tweet from our favorite person on Twitter to know what is going on. We can live without a lot of those facts because it's busyness. We have all this different information, and particularly if it makes us lose our peace, we've got to be realized it's maybe not a good thing. And especially we don't want to be a busybody by picking fights with people, by being obnoxious, by going in there and getting each other's business and waging a war on Facebook. If somebody is making comments you disagree with them, unfollow them or unfriend them. Your life will be much better. Trust me. I've had to do it for about 5 people this week. And then finally, Paul says, hey y'all, imitate me. Imitate my behavior. Look how diligent I've been in my work. We need to act as Christians in ways that we would want others to imitate. So when they looked at us and they said, man, that person's a pretty reasonable Christian. They're kept their peace. They're not, sitting in a cry-in, worried the world's going to come in, nor are they ready to put the crown of the King of David on Trump's head. It's not, be reasonable. And other people will see us be reasonable about these things. To be able to evaluate things we agree with, things we don't agree with, things that bother us, things that don't bother us. Pursue our own holiness, and don't be a jerk. Don't be obnoxious. That's not necessary, nor have a bunch of dramatic fits that you think the world is going to end. So I'll close with a quote, which I think is probably pretty cliched by now, but it'll be a good one to sort of end the homily with. It's from St. Padre Pio. You've probably all heard it before. Pray, hope, and don't worry. Pray. Pray for our nation. Pray for our president. Pray for our leaders. We should be doing that all the time. Hope. Our destination is the next world. It really doesn't matter what happens in this world. We want to work for justice. We want to work for a more tolerant and loving society. That's all great. But our hope is in the next life. But ultimately, do not worry. Keep your peace. Do not let these things that really don't have a direct impact in your life to destroy your peace. Because I can assure you, it is not the end of the world. And I can also assure you that Jesus is still King, and that we need to owe our allegiance to him. Amen.